All right, we're doing it. We're doing it. So the last video I talked about, I was talking about Adler and how the book was Courage to be Disliked, and he talks about how traditional psychotherapy or psychology, or do your research, but he talked about how traditionally it was you look at what has happened and then you can understand why you're doing what you're doing now, right? Like the actions that you're taking are based on the things that have happened in the past. And then Adler talked about, no, it's not necessarily what happened in the past, but it's the meaning that you put behind what happened in the past, right? And so it's actually more of a present thing. It's not, the past is not driving your current reality, but your perception of things. And that's kind of what I started talking about, is the stories that we're telling ourselves are really dictating how we live and the life that we experience. And is our life a joyful one, or is it one that's full of trauma and pain and all this stuff, right? And so that made me think of something, because I talked about how it's not necessarily the thing, but it's the meaning you put behind a thing. And so recently I came across some content from this lady. I'll try to find her page. It's her name's Katie. I forgot her last name already, but she was sharing a lot of stuff that I've heard through guys like a Bob Proctor or like a David Emanitier, or there's so many people online that you can look up. Even like a Napoleon Hill, or there's so many people. But so and some of the stuff she was saying is like there's alignment too with biblical principles, things that I've learned. Whether it be through church, pastors. There's the cool thing about the life that we are all experiencing right now is there's so much information out there, whether it be ChatGPT, whether it be YouTube, the list goes on. And, that could be dangerous too, because you start hearing stories that are, maybe it's like misinformation or it's not legit or whatever. And so you're buying into that, and that's now confirming one of your biases, your negative biases that you have. If you look at, I think I did like the first video I did talking about that. So anyways, one of the things that she talked about I thought was really powerful was this idea that you have, first, we have to be okay with this idea that there was a time before Earth existed, and there's a time before the universe existed. Okay, now when I say this, you may think that I'm like someone who says, oh, the universe. No, that's not me. So just throw that out there. But we first have to ask ourselves, are we okay with agreeing on this concept that there was a time before the universe, before Earth, okay? If we're not open to that, then this is gonna be a very difficult conversation. It's not gonna resonate, okay? Now, if we are open to that, then that means we have to be open to the idea that there's like this point where things change. Now, we can decide what we wanna, it's like, if you believe there's a Big Bang, if you believe, the Bible says that God spoke and let there be light, right? And the earth was created in 6 days and he rested on the seventh, all this stuff. Whatever your belief system is, I don't know. There's other belief systems out there, I don't know. But we would have to agree that there was a time where there was nothingness, you wanna call it, and then there was time where there's all this stuff. Okay, and so the idea is that, and I guess but see, I don't know, because if let's say if you believe the Big Bang, you may think that it's not like nothing was created, it just randomly happened. And I'm not even saying that you have to believe intelligent design. I'm saying that if there was nothing and then there's something came, okay, something, and to me that, like, I don't know, let's look at it. What is the definition of creation, because I'm not even trying to say that you have to believe that someone created it, right? Creation, the act of bringing something into existence or the resulting product itself. Wait a minute. So if I believe in the Big Bang, I'm sorry, I'm getting off track here. Well, off track is what's supposed to be happening. If I believe the Big Bang, then I believe that creation happened, because the definition of creation is the act of bringing something into existence. So there was nothing and then there was something, right? I was just watching recently the Stephen Hawking movie, which is like really powerful. But yeah, so anyway, so there was nothing and then there's something. So something was created, okay? So whatever Whatever caused that, it's up to you. You make your decision, right? Now, the conversation that that the Lady K was having was like that there's this idea that there's some form of source, and what's his name? That just made me think of the word sorcery, which like that'd be crazy. But there's the there's the guy. What's his name? Napoleon Hill talks about, what does Napoleon Hill say? The infinite. Napoleon Hill. What does he call it? Infinite intelligence? Maybe that's it. Infinite intelligence? I think so. Yeah, infinite intelligence, a universal creative life force that originates and gives order to everything in existence. Okay, so creative life force. Some people call it source. I think there's. I mean, when you look at like the Buddhists and the chakras and all these different people, everyone has these different names. Whatever. Source, infinite intelligence. Okay, you have God. Okay, you have what's this? Infinite intel. Okay, I'm not telling you what I'm not telling you what you gotta call it or whatever. Am I courageous enough and willing to say that I personally do call it God? Yes, but I don't want to. It's like I kind of want to try my best to stay away from like my beliefs because I don't want to sway people based on like the way I view the world. Though, there's I think what's his name? Will Smith said, or he was talking about somebody a while back, where it was like, it was an artist or something, and they did like self-portraits or whatever, and they said, the only story that I know how to share is my own, or something like along those lines, where it's like, at the same time, I just have to be genuinely myself and honest, and like, it is what it is. So that's what I call it. You call it what you want to call it. However, there's some, the idea that the consensus is that there was nothing, and then there was something, and then there was some type of energy or force or something that created that brought things into existence. Okay, and so the conversation was this, that you have source, you have God, if you want to call it, like I said, infinite intelligence with intelligence. Ain't nobody here, no one here trying to tell you what to think, trying to help you just process, I guess, how, right? So you have source. Okay, then the idea was that, and you'll have people say the universe and all this stuff, right? But I think the thing that's tough is that like the universe, well, it depends on what your understanding of history is, but that the universe wasn't there and now is, so that means it was also created, or it came into existence, which is the definition of something being created. Okay, so there's a lot there, but anyways, so you have that, and then you talk about like energy, right? We could talk about like Nikola Tesla and how much he let me see, energy just comes to mind. Nikola Tesla revolutionized global energy, championing alternative current. My dad was a technician for a while. He built out our computers and all this stuff too, and understands this a lot better than I do. Yep. Okay, so anyways, you got Tesla, you got energy, you got all this stuff. Okay, the idea here is that there's an energy, and then now you start talking about frequencies and vibration, all this stuff. Is there something called the law of vibration? Again, and this is an actual. The law of vibration is a metaphysical principle stating that everything in the universe, from physical matter to thoughts and emotions, is pure energy in a constant state of motion. Energy in motion. Like Tony Robbins he says emotion is literally just energy in motion, right? That just made me think too. I saw a video, a guy named, what's his name? Dr. Alan Watkins. Years ago, this is when I was with my boys, I was telling you guys about one of the other videos, the guys I played basketball with, the ones that are from Greece and Canada. And we had come across this video by Dr. Alan Watkins, and he was talking about how to be brilliant every single day. This was an early part of my development, personal development journey. I came across this guy, and he was talking about how it's pretty close to this, where he's talking about like your results come from your actions, and your actions come from your thoughts, and then your thoughts come from your feelings and your emotions. And like that was when I learned that feelings and emotions are not necessarily the same, right? Because the feeling is how you process your emotion, right? And so because energy is emotion, so I remember early on like this idea of like anxiety versus excitement, right? Well, it's a similar data waves, I guess, and yeah, just energy waves. However, if I feel my hands sweaty, knees weak, arms, spaghetti, all that stuff, right?
Knees weak, arms spaghetti.
If I feel this heart rate increasing and all this stuff, and hands are getting sweaty, and I process that, and I say, oh man, I'm not a good speaker, I'm not this, or I'm not good at free throws when I play ball. This is a sign that I'm gonna miss, and you just, then your actions start to change versus if you think, okay, this is my moment, my hands are sweating because it's like, it's activating me to be ready for this moment, right? Well, that different perception of it, you typically would get a different result, right? And so, anyways, going back to it, energy and emotion, cool. So it was this idea that you have this source, right? Creative source, okay? And then you have people, okay? So I just mentioned the Imago Dei, right? Created in the image of God. So let me see. Okay, because you have what? You have animals. Oh gosh, didn't get me drawing here. What is this? I don't know. Whatever. You got animals. You got horses and stuff, or dogs, whatever, man. All this stuff. And then you have the human being, okay? And oh man, that just made me think. I heard somebody say before, the human being is so much different than all these other creatures. What, jeez, I'm like afflicted because all this stuff comes up and like I have to say it, even though I just want to like keep pushing. Let me see. Oh man, I think the audio stopped recording here. Let me see. Yeah, it's okay. This is gonna be episode 3 because I was watching a video, and then this will be 3.1 or so. Let me see. Okay, so it said human being, and it said the reason why. Oh, I said creature, right? So these are all creatures. So the idea, what's the definition of the word creature? Creature is a created thing, right? Any living, breathing organism that can move independently, right? So yeah, creature. With the root word create, right? So etymology. Okay, a thing created. Yeah, let me see. Anything created, hence a thing, right? Living being. Yeah. Anything created. So a person who owes his right to fortune. So, anyways, yeah. So anything created, right? And then but then when you come to, so these are all creatures, all created. But what sets a human apart, a human being, is, I heard this idea where it's like the human decides who they want to be, right? It's a being, right? Being. Now, even as I say that, I think, well, there's other beings, right? But anyways, what I believe sets a human apart is that the human being has the ability to bring things into, like ideas and stuff into existence in a way that other creatures or beings, right, don't. As a human, I think, like I had a dog when I was younger, different animals and so forth. A lot of animals are typically driven by like what's the word? Not intuition, but innate, just like animalistic. Hey, I gotta survive. We're gonna eat. I'm in the wild. I'm gonna attack this dog or this animal, whatever, right? And but the ability that a human being has is to be able to see the future, look at the past, give meaning to it, look at the future, right? And then also bring the future into present day, right? Like I heard somebody call it like, say that like we're like a vessel to basically bring the spirit. I don't want to get, whatever, this is just real stuff, like bring things that are in the spirit and if you want to call it spiritual realm, fine, but bring it into physical existence, right? So like you have like you got like a Steve Jobs or whatever. Steve Jobs had an idea, right? Had a creative idea in his mind, and then was able to bring it to the physical existence, and now we have iPhones, right? So the creative capacity of the human being is just different, obviously, than other animals. Hopefully, that's a universal understanding, right? But even if we were to look again back, looking at the Bible, what was that? Genesis 1:26, Genesis 1:26, right? So in His image, let us make mankind. Read a full chapter, and that is what sets human beings apart from other animals. So God created mankind in His own image. In the image of God, He created them, male and female. He created them. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful, multiply, increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish and the sea and the birds," and so forth. Right. So that's just the idea that human beings we have something that other creatures don't have, which is access to this. Okay, access to God. And we'll save that for another conversation, but access to the infinite intelligence, okay, and the ability to bring it down to earth. That's why, another idea of like heaven on earth, right? What is it? The Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Our Father who art in heaven. Let me see. Okay, so if you look at the prayer, so Matthew 6:9 through 13, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth, thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven, right? So the human being has access here, but able to bring it to earth. That's the whole idea of kingdom and all that stuff. So anyways, you have that, and then you have, and what this was mentioned as the mind, okay, like the faculties that the human being has to be able to think, process, envision, and so forth. And then you have the physical, right, which is the actual body of the human being. And then there are things on earth as well, right? And so, anyways, I thought it was just like a really cool perspective because, the perspective that she gave was that if we look at it in this order, right, where you have the spirit, you have the mind, and then you have the physical, and you have like the body, right? Mind, body, spirit. You ever heard that before? Okay. You have these different planes. Well, let's just say not just body, but physical. And if you're like, because body, you can also think like the flesh, all this stuff. Cool. So what'll happen is if we give it this order, the order of things, well, then what you would say is that God created man, and man's job is to create physical things. Right? And that's it, and not the other way around, right? So it's not like physical things are supposed to dictate who man is, and then man tells God who he is, right? That's just not the order of things, okay? And so the reason I bring this up was I was talking about how giving meaning to the past, not letting the past control you, and so forth. Well, it's the same here when it comes to the life that a lot of us are living. Unfortunately, we've given a lot of power over physical things, right? You talk like material things, materialism, material things, and so forth. And so we allow this to drive our identity, but that would put things out of order. That would mean that the material is most important, and then you have the mind or the human being, and then you have God. And that's not how things work, right? Like how things were created, we came from the source first. The source created human beings, and the human beings now create the world that we see. You see buildings, come on, let's be real, cars, all this stuff. You don't see any other animal creating that stuff. So a lot of these things were created from the mind of a human being. It's anything that's been created. It's like you have the planet first, and a planet, then we were given the planet, and we're created as living beings to live on the planet, but then we've been given the capacity to create as well, so we were able to make things, iPads, chairs, cars, and all that stuff. And so it's like this idea, like how crazy would it be for God to look at human beings and say, okay, I'm going to dictate my worth based on all of their failure, all of their shortcomings and so forth, right? Well, the same thing here. How crazy would it be for the human being to dictate their identity based on all of the flaws of the material world and these just made up things, right? And this goes to, if you ever heard the whole thing like be, do, do have that whole conversation as well, where it's like, I'll finish this video with this. It was this idea that a lot of people are worried about what they want to have, the things they want to have. And so how does this work? Okay, so then they're like, and then they think about what they need to do, and then it's like who you want to be. But what happens is we put, the order we put, there it is, the order we put in this, we put having things or the material world as so important. So the idea was that when you fill this bucket up, well, that bucket will runneth, biblical, right? Runneth over, but it won't run into, nothing will change about this, and then who you have become hasn't changed, right? So the idea is instead, you want to put things in the right order, and you want to say, hey, who you are, who you become matters the most. And then when you focus on who you become, the things that you do will change. And then when you change the things that you do, you will also change what you have. And so we were just have to pour water this way as it overflows, right? It'll flow, and everything then has transformed in our life, right? And so, it's just really, really interesting stuff. And there's a lot of, I'm like kind of surface level here. There's a lot of different research and on how this stuff works. Identity, you look at I am, Yahweh in the Bible. You look at, like I said, neuroscience and imprinting and data waves, and you look at all this studies about affirmations.
I see pride. Can't hear you. I see power.
And all this stuff, and just transforming your belief system. And I mean, there's so much to it, but I really do believe that we all have been created for so much more than we've given ourselves credit for. And what we do, we allow the external world to dictate who we are, not realizing that we are the ones that create these things, right? And so understanding how powerful you are, understanding that if I am a human being, and now this is the thing, if this is true, and this is up for you to decide, okay, I have my belief systems, but this is up for you to decide. If it is true, if you have what Luke 17:21, it says the kingdom is within, right? So you have this human being, and then you have this body, right? And if that means if the kingdom is within, right? Well, that would mean that the creative life force of the world, the thing that created the entire earth, is within you. If that's true, then that would mean that you have the capacity to create so much and offer so much to the world. This is one of the reasons why I'm recording this stuff, because I'm like, just some of the stuff that I've experienced and seen and learned, I gotta share it. I don't know what it's gonna turn into. I don't know what we create from just having these conversations and what things spark and what comes to mind. But my job is to give it back and offer it. If you look back on my page, I had tried doing this thing. It was called Return the Favor at one point. And it was this idea of storytelling and all this stuff, favor. And the reason being is because I realized that, a lot of us have been gifted with so much, but, JFK, what does he say? Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Not realizing that because we have so much power, we have the ability to give so much away and to just give and give and give. And a lot of us are so focused on getting and getting and getting. And that's because we're not understanding the order of things, right? So, yeah, that's this one. I'm done. And again, I don't know what's next, but I'm about to turn this off, and we may have another video come up, or it may not be for a while. But I appreciate you guys being here again. And like I said, anything that I share, if it's something that can add value or help somebody, please let me know. If there's questions, if it's bro, you're talking all over the place, you need to get your timelines in order, I know. So I'm open to that as well. But I do know that it's all in the right direction, and this is stuff that somebody needs to hear. And so I'm gonna keep sharing it, y'all. I'll keep sharing it, and hope everything is hope it works where it's supposed to. All right, take care, y'all. Peace.